read the streaming notice. Today's meeting is being streamed live on the Township of Ramara's YouTube channel. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the Ramara Trails Committee, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair, secretary, and/or director of infrastructure have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal actions if their actions result in inappropriate and/or unacceptable behavior and/or comments. I will now pass the meeting back to the chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. Welcome everyone to our first meeting of 2025, and a special welcome to Michael, our new member. So, and to Chris, our new staff member that's going to keep us in line. And now moving on to item number 2.1. Could I have a motion from a committee member that we adopt the Trails Committee agenda dated January 15th, 2025. Dana, seconder. Charlotte, thank you. Any questions? Item number 3.1, that the committee adopt the Ramara Trails Committee meeting minutes dated November 20th, 24 as presented. A mover, please. Dana, seconder. Michael, thank you. Any questions about the minutes or additions? Okay, if none, moving on to items in item 4. So there are 4 items actually, 4.1, 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. I'm going to do in a slightly different order, and they are all combined. They're related. So that's why I'm doing this. So to start out, I'd like to go to item number 4.3, the Ontario Trails Council. And Charlotte, if you would like to speak to that.
The Trails Council?
Ontario Trails, isn't that what it's called?
4.4 is the strategy.
4.3.
So 4.3.
Are we speaking to 4.4?
Well, we will,
and
but
4.5.
4.3.
You had, sorry, Larry, you had Dana for 4.3 for the Ontario Trails Council.
Panic.
Oh, sorry, what's wrong? What is that?
You had Dana beside that agenda item?
That's Dane's.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
okay, I didn't realize that was me, but I'm happy to speak on
yes,
it.
because you've been talking to.
I have, and
Yeah.
yes, as have you. Basically, Dan Andrews, he's the executive director of or I guess the president of the Ontario Trails Council. And we've had some communication where he's excited that we might provide the missing link of the Trans-Canada Trail between basically, between basically Thunder Bay and Quebec City. There's only one area that's still classified as a water trail, which is not a trail at all. And that's at the eastern shore of Lake Couchiching. And it would be very exciting if we were able to complete that loop. So basically it's called the sort of alongside Ramara Road. And I know that we are making headway with that between what we've been able to accomplish at Longford, as well as what's happened at the south end there with Anna Lynn's maybe more familiar with that. But, you know, and again, this piece that we're trying to work on now, whether it's in partnership with Fowler or not, but finishing that loop for the Trans-Canada Trail alongside Lake Couchiching. So that's exciting there. And I guess, is that what's meant by lake to lake?
Yes, and actually, what it also does is it connects that trail all the way to Lake Ontario. And there's just now been a connection from the Metro Urban Park through Uxbridge, up through Brock Township to Ramara. They've just managed to acquire some land that connects the Uxbridge Trail to the Metro Urban Park, which is really, really neat. So, so from Brock Township, the beginning of Brock Township, you go to Cannington, pick up the rail line, and continue, goes right down to Uxbridge and picks up the Uxbridge trails. So it's really, the connections really are happening, which is pretty neat. So that's the lake to lake trail on this side of Lake Simcoe. There's also a trail, I believe, on the west side of Lake Simcoe that goes south, and it ends up in the same place, but it doesn't do the Cannington route. So there's all of that happening. Any questions about the council? You were wondering if you should join a membership, but
Yes, like I've joined as a regular person, but for us to join, and I think I had sent you the price list, for us to join is basically a committee within a council. It's something like $129 a year. And to be able to be sort of connected with all of the Ontario trails and their endeavors, I think it would be worthwhile as for our committee to think about joining. And to have access, of course, to their, you know, like Dan and some of the others, just so everyone's on the same page. Is that something that this committee would be interested in doing? So should we make a motion? I don't know if you can.
why don't you make a motion, and then we'll discuss it and see if we get approval from the committee.
Okay, so I'd like to move then that the Trails Committee in Ramara joins the Ontario Trails Council.
Could we have a seconder? Charlotte, okay. Discussion. Comments? All in favor?
Sure.
Carried. So that'll be a little money out of our tight budget.
Also, there's connections and promotions.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, now, sorry, I was confused there. So starting with 4.4, Charlotte.
It's okay, you just panicked.
Sorry, Dana, what was the cost of the Ontario Trails Council?
Let me look back here. I sent that in an email to Mary.
Good person. Dan?
Dan Andrews, yeah,
Yes.
so that was the, one second. Why don't you got, can I give you that information in a minute? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, go ahead, Charlotte.
So back in December, I sent all of you an email about the National Active Transportation Strategy and Active Transportation Fund. So in the email, there were 3 links, and the first link was to the letter in support of the active transportation under the Canada Public Transit Fund, Green Communities Canada. So just to explain that letter was basically, it was to the Honorable Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities Canada, and it was an ask to make the funding easier to access for smaller municipalities like Ramara. So, and that's the active transportation fund that I'm talking about. So generally, so the letter just kind of gives a little bit of background of what it is, and just that it's been difficult for smaller municipalities to send in applications for the funding, so it hasn't been as well accessed as it should be. So keeping that in mind, I read over, because I didn't know we had a national strategy, because there's lots of things that I don't know. And so just to kind of give you a little background there, the National Active Transportation Strategy was put in place in 2021. So there's a plan for 2021 to 2026. It's Canada's first strategy to promote the construction and use of pathways, trails, and cycling lanes. So my ears perked up and I'm like, wait a minute, that's what this committee is doing. So the vision of this strategy is for Canadians of all ages, ethnicities, abilities, genders, and backgrounds to be able to safely and conveniently access active transportation in their communities and to significantly increase the modal share of active transportation. Which is the proportion of Canadians who regularly make the choice to use active transportation. So this strategy has a dedicated fund. And again, I was like, money. Money is good. And it's the Active Transportation Fund, and that's to support the expansion and enhancement of active transportation across Canada. And they actually have an online hub. So I put that link in that email as well. So if anybody wants to look, you can look at that link there. So this link is to access the Active Transportation Fund, among others. So there's a few listed on the website, but the one we're interested in would be the Active Transportation Fund. And I happen to notice that applications are currently being accepted to the capital project stream until February 26, 2025. And that's through the applicant portal, which is through that link. And capital projects would include multi-use pathways, bike lanes, footbridges across roadways, new lighting and wayfinding signage. And applications can be received directly from municipalities. So, I mean, I'm not very good at the application process, but I know Ashley is, and she's amazing. And I wondered, so recognizing that that letter I sent said it's not an easy process, it's a bit onerous, but it's not been as well accessed as it should be. So I thought that might be in our favor. Because anyways, I did one of the links that I put in that email was to the National Transportation Strategy. It goes through the whole strategy in here. Some of the projects that they did highlight was there was a Flora footbridge in Ottawa, which kind of reminded me of what Councillor Snutch has tried to do with the footbridge over the Narrows, which also the Aurelia Council, they like collaborations. I read that in here. And there's some really good stuff in here that they've done. So I just sounded a lot like what this committee has been achieving and would like to further achieve.
And an application has to be in, we have until
February 25th for a capital, if we have a capital project.
February 25th this year. Okay, so it's quick. That's it. The bridge would be one possibility. Now that's so major, and whether you can ever get that happening that quickly.
That's already a joint project, Aurelia, Ramara, and I believe Dave's been on that board.
Yeah.
Would there be an opportunity, like, would they be interested as a partnership to apply for funding?
I don't know if they're at that point yet. So I think they're still working with Trent Severn to try to get across the Narrows.
There's other options in here. Money is money.
It all depends on what the requirements are. If they're matching grants or if it's 100%.
I think it might be matching.
Yeah, so we have to ensure we have the money to match it first.
It's good to know there is money.
Yeah.
The other possibility that would come to my mind would be around the road and to get the trail out of finish the trail so it's no longer running up the lake. And that's close to being shovel ready. I
Is it?
think.
Because I don't think anywhere's been done that I know of.
Well, no, I did have a meeting earlier this week, and I'm supposed to have action pretty quickly on what's happening.
Is that through the county or through the
Through the county.
So the county should be forwarded that. So the county. So the county would be forwarded that possibly what that grant could be used for. Who's funding that ramp road?
Who is funding?
Township or county?
Well, you see, that's what hasn't been decided.
So until essentially everything's worked out, we don't know. We only have $30,000
Mhm.
for trail work for this year. So if it's matching, we only have $30,000 we can put towards it.
Dana?
Just going back to the item that I had been discussing with the missing part of the water trail, Trans-Canada Trail. Dan Andrews had suggested that we might tap into funding wise that any resource from the Trans-Canada Trail, because that's a significant piece, so that might help too in terms of funding. And just while I'm just speaking, Hannah, that number that you had asked for was $123.47 for us to join the Ontario Trails Council.
Is that yearly?
Yes,
Thank you so much for confirming.
and that includes HST. So no extra HST, it's already in there, $123.47.
Yeah, so like I'm not disagreeing to apply, but we need to know what project we're applying for, and if that application is onerous, like you're saying, we have to have the project shovel ready to go.
I'd have to take a look at, I mean, I'm definitely not an expert and really not. That's where I would rely on
Yeah.
you guys, but I just thought that it might be an opportunity considering the projects that we've been discussing.
Yeah. But even with that ask for the extra money last year, it kind of set our budget for the next 3 years, which is basically what the budget is for this year. Unless something were to change with council and agree to more money, we're only essentially going to have about $30,000 to work with each year for the next 3 years because of that repayment from the extra work we did on 750.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that in the back of our minds. Ashley is going to be talking about the Simcoe County grant, or there's an option there, but even with that, we will have to look at if we can stack grants.
I think this one allows you to. I don't know, but.
We'll have to ensure that everything would be stackable essentially if.
Like the other one that you apply for is stackable. Like
this one. here.
No, like if, let's say the grant that related to this, let's say you're applying for the Trans-Canada Trail one, that's allowed to be part of this too. That's the only part that you have to really work for, because a lot of times they don't like to be.
I rely on you
depends.
for the rules.
Yeah, it's just, we don't have a lot of money this year.
Yeah.
So what is the project that we want to focus on? We have a lot of trails that are established that need maybe some love and attention, and so is that what we try and do this year, and try and look at those projects and keep building up our reserves, so that way when something comes, we do have the money and we can just kind of go for it and all the permissions.
Because essentially what the committee talked about during the budget meetings that we had, we would do the 3 sets of gates to replace the gates on Ramara Road, and then continue with the trail resurfacing to the north from Corey Point Road. So essentially that leaves no money for capital work for this year anyways.
Might be something just to keep, like, just
Yeah, for
accept
future,
as
yeah.
information,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, sure.
maybe we could identify something
Yeah.
you'd really like to go for,
Yes.
knowing that this is available
Yeah.
and that the process might be a bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
so giving lots of time to work on.
Yeah.
I think I've read that, and it seemed to me it was an 80%, like an 80-20, 20% by the municipality and 80 by, I think. Are you familiar with this grant, Ashley?
Yeah, it's 60%, it says.
60 is it?
Yeah, so they would pay up to 60, so you
Okay.
gotta remember that, up to.
Okay.
So
okay.
they could choose whatever they wish to choose, just like Trans-Canada Trail, right? So a lot of times it's up to, and we only get that 30-ish percentage.
Mhm, mhm.
Kathy has a question.
Sorry, it might have just been answered, but Ashley, are you saying that the active transportation grant, they pay up to 60% of the proposal?
Yeah, that's what it looks like when I look at the application guidelines online.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at it now too, because the other option is there's a like a delayed application for Indigenous, like it goes into April. So again, I'm not sure if there's a partnership with Rama that could help us with this. I think it's a good idea for us to look at this application for sure, if we can.
Are you thinking about the Rama Road project in regards to having Rama's contributions?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, and it looks like the application, you can delay it, right? So the one is February, but the other one is April for Indigenous groups. So it gives us a bit more time to talk to Rama about whether they could help us if we don't have the budget for it.
Yeah, and we would also have to double check just with the grant as well, that would it be Rama that has to apply as well? Like I know it says projects located in, but I would have to double check with the project advisor a lot of times with each of these grants, whether they have to submit as well.
I think when I was reading it through, it said that it encouraged partnerships. And so
I just mean who's the major one, that's all. I just have to double check, right? And then whether we're like,
that's why
you have to have all the ducks in the row before we ask Rama as well, is who is that person on that grant application, or who's that made like the main applicant, and whether they choose to do that as well too.
Could it be Simcoe County that would be applying? Was that a possibility? Because they have more money than we do. If any of these negotiations work out.
I would have to look into it, and then again, it would be up to the county of Simcoe's whether they would choose to do that. That I don't know.
Dana?
Just regarding looking good in terms of collaborations, I've got a meeting set up with a counselor and really at the end of the month to talk about the potential idea of like a loop all around Lake Couchiching and completing that. And I'm just wondering if this would be the kind of thing, keeping ourselves as the main part of the project. Yeah. And then that way we could have Rama in there, Aurelia, Severn, us, and then that would be an exciting piece that also ties together that waterfront trail with the TCT.
From what I read, Ashley's
right.
She knows these things.
And would it be possible then, so say if we had the 4 different like Rama, Ramara, Aurelia, Severn, like would everybody in those municipalities or First Nations be able to apply for that grant individually? Or would it only, okay.
Again, I'm just looking at this right now. I haven't had a chance to look into the grant, so I honestly don't know that question. So it'd just be the direction of what our Trails Committee would like us for staff to do. And then I would go and research and then provide like an update. Again, it's depending on whether it's Indigenous led or partnership or ourselves, or if you did those different timelines.
And I think it's one application, but everybody.
That's usually how it is. It's one application with letters of support or their names on it as as a partnership.
Okay.
But then I don't know if they're applying this themselves either, and then does that disqualify their application if they did it by themselves? Or like, let's say the Township of Severn has put an application or is going to, can they be a partner with ours? Those are the things I don't know.
Okay.
So we'd have to double check with each one.
Yeah, and with it being a tight timeline this year, it could be stuff we look into over the year or maybe next year. We could set budgets, they could set their budgets if they're contributing and applying for it at that point in time.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was thinking, right? That because it does take time to organize all of it.
It does. It takes a lot of staff time. So then it's just, then other things have to go on the side.
Okay.
But now we know.
Yeah.
So,
And this program may not be there next year.
oh yeah, it will. It's from 2021 to 2020.
But if there's an election.
Things change.
Which things could change too, even if we apply.
Yeah.
And the election happens, the grant could go away.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that does happen no matter what. So you just kind of have to ride it out. But I think having just direction for staff that, let's say the Rama Road trail is a priority, and it's a priority for council for staff to figure out how to get that completed by a certain time, then we can look at grants, how we fill that in or how that would work.
Okay.
But I think the direction needs to be set so that we can look at different kind of funding or whose responsibility it is, and so on and so forth, and getting that done.
So that's something we could do now, but in the sort of in the near future. And just have it on file, kind of, is that what you're saying?
It would be a motion that that's what you would like, that the Trails
To
Committee
do the
would like
research.
for staff to do that research, because then the minutes of this meeting then go to council as well to then ratify those decisions that are made, so.
Well, I would think that might be a good idea.
And again, I don't know if you want to bring this back, because you do have your projects for 2025, so I don't know, get a little bit further down your agenda, so I don't know if you want to defer back till you get to that part of the agenda.
Okay,
And
yeah,
maybe-
that would make sense, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Any other comments on this? Okay, then we will could have moved forward. So that's 4.4 and 4.3. The mayor's walk, I sent her, Dana, you sent, I don't know, can't remember, to everyone, some business on the mayor's walk. The Ontario Trails Council is sponsoring the mayor's walk on June the 7th, 2025. And I thought it might be something that we might want to consider from the point of view of making sure that the mayor, and we would certainly invite the other councillors, would be part of, but also the community. And Anne Lynn, a couple of times you've mentioned a barbecue, and we've also mentioned doing something in the spring, kind of an open house for the trails. And Kathy, you have been wondering about an opening of our trail through the casino and up to Airport Road with the Indigenous community. And I was wondering if there would be a way that we could kind of combine those things and get a whole bunch of people out for the walk, bike ride, on June the 7th, or I guess it could be another day if we chose. That's a Saturday. In June, the weather starts getting pretty nice. And, what do you think? Oh, and the one other thing would be that we could maybe combine would be the bike challenge. We did that last year through the Muskoka Nursing Group. Yeah.
It's led by Sustainable Aurelia,
Okay.
but then I support their planning
Okay.
organization.
And the schools were a bit involved too, or we tried to get them involved. And, yeah. I thought it might be a way to get a whole bunch of things happening at once. So, but interested in how you feel about it and how you think it might happen, if at all. Adeline?
I like the idea of the mayor's walk happening at the new section. Is it completed, Josh? I went there and I didn't see how they're going from the end of the trail now around to the rail bed. Is that all finished?
It is all completed. I was gonna give an update later on when we get to projects and updates, but yes, it is completed. So we will be doing a walk with the contractor in the spring because it was right before Christmas. And as soon as he finished is when we got the
snow.
So
Yeah, parking, that would be the only thing. Unless we started at Mararama boundary line, parked all along that road and start from,
at the casino too, if you were to do that section.
well, I like that because it's new.
Yeah.
And I don't see refreshments or anything. Well, I haven't thought of it through, but I like that idea. Going to Airport Road.
Yeah.
Ashley?
So this would work really well. I know we talked about it last year, creating kind of an event in regards to our trails. So having this would be great. We would have to also invite Trans Canada Trail. Because as part of that application process, I did say that we were going to be doing something in the spring. So we can have those representatives look to see all the different things that we are doing. When it comes to building and expanding our trails and linking as well with Rama, as is what we discussed as well. So if we define that date as June 7th or around there, we can kind of link a lot of different partners and partnerships with that.
And I wondered if we could even invite other municipalities, representatives from other municipalities to have a look at our trail as well, you know. And Ashley, you working on the map for Simcoe County, I guess it's already in print.
Yes.
But we could update something maybe on a sheet of paper or however, including.
So for the Simcoe County map, it will be in for the following year, won't be in for this year. It will be online for them, but it won't be in the paper version. But we can provide something for individuals just to give them that update, but it will be in the 2026 edition.
So would there be anything we could hand out at that event?
Yeah, we can hand things out just to provide some clarity. We can also provide some like signage as well on the trail to begin with, to know that it keeps going. And maybe something in collaboration even as well with the casino or different businesses within the area. When you think of like, let's say Fern Resort is not that too far, is there a way to connect where they can just keep discussing that within their promotional materials, or just even communication that they provide the people who stay there? That's something we can
And I think,
Kathy has a question too.
Yeah, he has a question as well.
Kathy?
No, just to jump on the planning. So I'm not sure what the distance is, but from the casino to Airport Road, you're going to end up right at the Rama farm. And so that might be a nice connection too, to have like a rest station or something there. And I have contacts with the farm quite a bit. So if you want me to look into that, whether they'd be receptive to that. I'm assuming it's going down the rail trail and then it ends up on the road. Like there's a road into the farm. I'm assuming that's where the trail is.
Yeah, it ties right into that road. So
Yeah.
Way.
So that's a nice destination to be at the farm if we wanted to have a rest station there. I'm assuming it's an out and back walk. And then I also like strongly support having an elder, essentially the youth drum band, like the big drum, could be booked for that day. So it could be a nice experience for people to walk down the trail.
And I wondered if we could maybe, it could be a walk bike. And those that are biking might want to start at Atherley in the parking lot. And the ones that are biking could start at the casino.
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's a good way for some of our Trails Committee members to kind of set up like an actual little bike. So like meeting at their trail hub at, let's say 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. and you can provide them that route and it just gives people that little collective group going. That's another thing that maybe could happen, kind of looking at the new artwork that was done by Travis Schillings and just kind of giving that context and then riding along. I think that might be a nice way to.
Yes, and I want to have a work bee that needs some work on at Atherley, where that is, where the artwork is. So in the spring, Anna Lynn and I were talking. I'm going to try and have a little bit of a work bee just to tidy that up.
And I think that it kind of goes into that budget, right? Like looking at kind of our trails that we have and kind of getting them a little bit tidied up. So that way when we host these events, they're already kind of where we want them to be, and utilizing that money. It might not be where we're expanding. We've expanded a lot of trails over the last couple of years. So really, I think this year I'd love to just showcase exactly what we have and kind of get those guided kind of tours where people can start with a group. Because I think people don't like to always go by themselves, or they don't know anyone else, and it's just a nice way to kind of gather, whether they're walking or they're biking.
Yeah, and people are still saying, where are these trails?
Yes.
You know, like, it's crazy. We need to make sure that we have stuff that we can hand out
That's right.
to show them.
And so we can, as well as provide some funding for handouts
Yes.
to do it, right?
Just on that, I was going to, Annalyn, you will remember, when Caroline was doing recreation and in charge of trails, there were some materials that were in storage at the recreation center in a container or something at the back, or a storage shed that's attached. Do we know anything?
It was sort of swag and some t-shirts. I think they would have been given out as prizes by now.
Nobody, I don't think anybody knows where it was. I was never there. I was never in that. I just remember saying before she left, there's a whole bunch of stuff here.
We can follow up with staff member to see if that exists, and then follow next meeting with staff,
Okay.
like with the committee.
Okay.
I haven't heard of anything.
Dana, you were going to comment.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that June 7th will be just getting into turtle nesting season, so we're probably gonna see all kinds of cool stuff on the main walk there. So, yeah, that's.
So 10:30 with Dana, and it's called the Turtle Walk.
That's awesome.
Now, to continue this though, Charlotte, you have something, yeah.
Yeah, so probably what you were going to say is that the Aurelia Bike Challenge is just starting to get planned again. So I'm on that little working group with Sustainable Aurelia. They haven't really set a start date yet, but June would probably be a good time, and this might be something that we could help each other by promoting cycling, right? And linking in with what's happening here in Ramara, because the trails out here are amazing.
Yeah.
So and I like the idea of inviting the other municipalities to see what's here.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could mention it to my little working group, because again, we haven't got a firm start date, and see maybe how we could link in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you promote people to cycle. We promote people to go out to Ramara to cycle.
Yep.
Or yeah.
And we'd also want to partner with Simcoe County Tourism Group and really make sure that is.
Invite the people from Simcoe County for sure, yes. Is there a member of the committee, there must be a member of the committee who would like to kind of chair this little event? Did I see your hand, Kathy? I saw it move.
That was kind of a half-ass, maybe I could do it. Yeah, I'm interested in helping with this one for sure.
Okay, so why don't we, if you will agree, why don't you be the chair? I'll certainly would like to be, well, we could maybe all be on the committee, but I would certainly like to be. I don't know. Charlotte, you certainly, I think, would need to be. Is there anyone else that would like to sort of, Annalyn?
Sure.
Dana? Anyone else? Okay, so I assume, Hannah, you've got those names. It's Kathy, Dana, Charlotte, Annalyn, and myself. And
That's right. Just a reminder, if you guys require staff to do anything, we do need motions.
yeah, we're gonna do one right now.
Perfect.
Do you want to forward a motion, Charlotte, or Kathy?
I know it starts with
Yeah.
that.
I can make the motion. you want me to make the motion?
Yes,
Okay, so I move that we form a committee, planning committee for a June 7th launch of or launch and promotion of the Ramara Trail.
Bears Walk. Oh. Okay, seconder. Charlotte? All in favor? Perfect, thank you.
Have we given notice to the mayor to make sure he's there?
That's kind of key.
Well, I guess, Hannah, is it too early?
Sorry.
Well, in
Is it
that,
too early to send something out to the mayor or John?
in that motion, you can request that the mayor attend on June.
Or that we submit a request for the mayor to attend the mayor's walk on June
The,
7th.
the mayor or his designate, but I would put that just in case.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think something should go to the council too. I mean, they should all be invited. And they probably will come if it's a big event.
Yeah, yes, and there is some key, like when it comes to grant stuff that I would have to do in regards to this stuff. Media releases and whatnot that tie into the grant that we just completed.
Say that again.
So communications in regards to the trail opening
Yes,
and just making sure some of the like other content. So with our TCT grant, there
Yes.
are some communication things that we have to get done. So I would fulfill those duties or those jobs in regards to this mayor's walk as
Okay.
well.
Okay, okay. Anything else on this item? Okay,
I'm sorry, who moved it and who seconded the motion? I didn't catch that.
Charlotte,
I seconded.
And I made the motion, Kathy.
Perfect, thank you.
and Kathy, maybe we can just meet by Zoom? You just, whenever.
Okay.
And kind of get a framework put in place and. Okay,
Sorry,
yeah,
just to clarify, so did that motion capture what the things that we needed to do that Ashley had just brought up?
So I can read the motion that I have. I have that a planning committee is formed for the Mayor's Walk 2025 consisting of Counselor Tuyu, Charlotte, Annalyn, and Kathy, and that a request is submitted to the mayor to attend.
Mayor designate, I guess.
I think it's bigger than the mayor's walk, is it? Like, I'm not
It
sure
is.
that captures the motion. Like, I think it's an event which includes the mayor's walk, but also the launch of
Yes.
a new trail.
That's right.
can you get all that in, Hannah?
Yeah.
You're good at it.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Pardon?
I think we're good.
Okay, moving on. Kathy, I'm gonna call on you again on the Orkney Beach Trail. You know, the part that has been, somebody's cut out for us or for the community. Can you just explain what's happened there?
Sorry,
If so, yes,
just procedurally, are we going back? Are we done with 4.5 and now on 4.6?
Yeah, you
we're
did
on
that.
4.2.
You did it at the start, before it came.
Oh, so now we're in 5.1 section?
No, we're still
No,
in 4, but he
4.2.
changed the order.
Oh, okay,
I just-
sorry, now I'm just very confused and I'm like, wait,
Well,
sorry,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
surprised.
Just to keep you on your toes, Ashley.
I know, I'm like, where are we?
I did 4.5 in there too,
Uh,
a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the desire was to see if we could get a trail to the Ramara Center so that people wouldn't have to go on the highway for the sports piece and for the library piece. And so one of the options I know we had talked about was there's this little road, I think unnamed, off of Orkney Beach that is a dead end. And then it goes into, there's basically two farmers fields and a little stream that gets you to the back of the Ramara Center, which is basically the backyard of our property where we live. And so I went snowshoeing there over the holidays, and I know it's private land, but there's a forest that's on the side of the field, and then there would be a series of houses which would go on to Orkney Heights. So if that makes sense for people where that is. And I believe that the neighborhood or whoever owns that forest they have cut a trail through there. So as you go to that little road off of Orkney Heights, not too far into the field, there is someone's cut into the forest. And then from there, there's a trail that goes parallel to Orkney Heights. It's I think, a bit wet when I was there, but it's definitely, and it's been marked. Somebody's marked it with like trail markings. And it looks like some of the sections go up to where the houses are. I didn't go up there. I just went down the parallel to the field. So it just made me think, like, is there a conversation that we could have with the property owner? Is it because the trail kind of exists? Is it something that we could look into? And I didn't know if that was even possible, and if it was possible, if anybody wanted to walk it and see what I'm talking about.
Kathy, I guess maybe Josh, first of all, yeah, I know where it is, yeah. Is that little short road, is that a road allowance all the way through to, it doesn't stop?
No, it stops. So yes, that it is a little road allowance. It goes a little bit past the end of the road, but not very far. It is 100% private property that you'd be trespassing on if you were to walk through that. Essentially, if the committee wanted to move forward, it would be number one, to talk with the owner of the property to see if we could have an agreement formed to be able to use that property. I'm sure there would be requirements of insurance, possibly remuneration for using the property. The other thing we'd have to look at, especially with all the new accessibility standards, is if that trail were to meet AODA requirements. With that, if it doesn't, there's the cost to bring it up to that standard and permissions and essentially an easement over the property to do the work required.
Nothing is simple.
Unfortunately not, no.
Well, I would think it would be interesting to find out who owns it, first of all. And then have a conversation with them and see what the results of that conversation would be.
Yes, my husband was here. He knew the name. It's definitely not the people that own the field. It's somebody that owns the forest part, not the field part. But I don't have the name, so I don't know.
Yeah, and we don't want to say their name here in public either.
Yeah, but you would know the name, right? Somebody would know the name. Yeah.
Be a lot safer for access to the Ramara Center for sure.
It's actually really pretty through the forest too. Like I went back there a few years ago, and they've definitely widened it, and like a snowmobile has gone through, like can ride through it. So they've definitely done some work to create a trail for sure. The rest of it around agreement and maintenance and all that stuff, obviously, yeah, we'd have to have a conversation with their interest in it. But it did seem like somebody has done some of the work for us to get us down close there. Now, my other thing would be, there is a little creek, right? So I'm assuming there'd have to be, like, I'm only there in the winter, so you can just walk over the creek, but there'd have to be some sort of bridge or something to get over the little creek.
Mike?
I heard snowmobile mentioned. Is it a snowmobile trail in winter, that area?
There is there's a snowmobile road that goes through the fields that has been granted for years and years. So this is not that, but this trail, somebody rides a snowmobile. I don't know if it's just to cut the trail so that people can then snowshoe through it, but they're not the same, but there is a snowmobile road that goes through those fields. And that's how, like, when my kids were little, we used to snowshoe or go in the winter to the Ramara Center through the back of our property, through those two fields. In the summer, their farmers use them, so it's not as easy to get through, but in the winter, it's easy to get through.
Don't say anything about ownership, please.
So-
Nothing about ownership.
No, we can't. No,
You
we're not.
are, you can't,
No, we're not talking about, I'm not talking about
you
ownership.
just said.
Oh, okay. So where are we at? Can Josh,
Yeah, we just need a motion. I mean, it's basically a motion to investigate the possibility.
and to with the owner.
Yes.
So I can move that motion. I would move that we investigate the ownership of the property and speak with the owner to see if they are interested in an
Through the
agreement
field?
to use that trail.
Yeah. That's only in winter.
Yeah.
Did we have a seconder
Is
for
that
that
on the
motion?
GIS? or-
I'll second it.
Yeah, Kathy, okay. Any other questions? Oh, all in favor of the motion? Perfect. Okay, moving on to planning, no, just a minute. I would like to now go, sorry, I'm jumping around, but I want to go now to you, Ashley. 6-1.
Sorry, did we finish planning for 2025 or are we skipping that?
I'm coming, I wanted to hear the grants and then come back to the planning for 2025. Okay, so,
I had it up. So the Connecting Communities grant,
yes,
sorry, I had it up and then I closed it down because.
no rush.
So I provided the information sheet. So this project has to be done by 2026. You have the 2 years. There is stipulations with it. So it says like a minimum project needs to be. So it's like the implementation or refurbishment of a major capital piece or trail infrastructure. The proposed project will consider a sub-regional connection or alignment with a neighboring municipality. A new connection will link the settlement areas within like different rural areas. So let's say if you're connecting, a big one would be, let's say that piece in Lagoon City that you would basically connect Lagoon City with Bay Shore, let's say. That piece in between is like the connection of two different settlement areas.
Could it also be actually be the Rammer Road?
Yeah, that would also be,
Trans.
It would connect Washago to.
yeah, like that's another one as well that could be considered. So construction will have to begin in 2025 and will be completed within 2-year period. So completing by December 18th, 2026.
And when does that have to be in?
That one is due. And there's the different tiers, which is different than what you guys saw before. So last year, because we weren't finished our Connecting Communities grant from 2023, you know, the Ramara Road project that we just completed last year. Everything we completed, which was the second and third phase of Ramara Road, wasn't even considered because we hadn't finished that project. We have finished all our projects now, so anything we do submit would be looked at, but there are those 3 tiers, and anything on Ramara Road would be considered under that 50,000 tier.
Isn't the first tier up to 100,000?
That's right, but when I was speaking to them, like when they looked at that Ramara Road section, they said that would be under that 50,000 and not the 100,000.
It's maintenance, it's not new construction.
That's right, as the 100,000 would be looking at like something that's in like that Lagoon City connection would be considered that $100,000 mark.
And it is matching again too.
It is matching, so if we request 50,000, we have to put in 50,000.
Yeah. Mhm.
This be like the project Dana you were talking about, that was
So the
joint
deadline
between
is
Brilliant
number
and
6.
Stefan
next week.
around those.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just sort of thinking about how we were talking about the funding.
Says
you know,
you can send them in
what kind of paperwork
afterwards, but
collaboration.
Would this
When's
work
left
for that
over?
too though?
Yeah.
Which the
So another big thing to look at is looking at maybe even that $20,000 mark. So if you're looking at things like signage, safety, fencing repairs or installations, trail furniture, feasibility studies. So if you want to look at maybe completing like an active transportation study, the one that was done prior to was done in 2010. So think about everything that has been completed to date, just things that we want to consider for the future. So that's another thing you can think about doing.
One of the things that I think we could keep in the back of our mind is that I think in that grant, if I recall, part of the money that would be our share of the 50% could be money in donations of material and time by, well, I'm thinking in particularly of the Rama.
This doesn't include in-kind contributions. This is financial.
I was thinking of the quarries that have offered to do work up there in way of material and equipment. And usually that is considered, and I know it has in the past, we've had the material covered, like our screenings and stuff.
I would have to ask them because that's called in kind, right? Like it's not an actual expense. So when we complete the application, I have to show that receipt and says we spent $30,000 on this trail.
Mhm.
The township paid this and the county paid this towards that 30,000.
Mhm.
So I would have to ask the county and say, okay, we have received $30,000 in material.
Mhm.
The township didn't have to pay anything, but can we use that towards that application that you're paying, because then they're paying us money for nothing.
So we would need a receipt.
Yes, but then if we're not paying anything, why are they gonna pay us and contribute to have that grant?
I think the way it worked before, Josh probably knows. It was included in the quote. The quote that we got from the contractor was included,
We with
and then they deducted that from, we had the quote and the invoice, but we deducted that from what we paid, I think.
we ended up getting special permissions for that
Okay.
project that they did allow some of the in-kind work. But yes, there was a reduction on the amount that they
Mhm.
financed.
Yeah,
So we'd have to confirm with
Okay,
Simcoe
okay.
County because they redone this whole program. So
Yeah, last year was the first year for it, and so
Okay.
this is the second year, so I would have to ask them about
Yeah.
donations
is-
and things that were. Like, I'm just trying to think of them in the reporting, because I would think what they would say back to me, but then again, the county will be able to say whatever, if we think the project's 30,000. and our material that should have cost us 10,000 is now 0. So now the project's 20,000. They're gonna say, okay, we'll reduce our contribution by 5 because we reduce our 5 by 5 to make it even. But I'll follow up, and I could send an email to the Trails Committee on kind of what that would be, but I actually don't know that answer.
Charlotte.
So you mentioned an active transportation study, right? Something, yeah. So, and the last one was done in 2010, so we're now in 2025. So, and please correct me if I got it all mixed up, because that happens. But, so an active transportation study would look at what's here right now and maybe what might be considered a priority moving forward. Right?
And how trails are developed and so on and so forth.
Right, which would help with if we're looking at applying for active transportation fund, right? Because it would already be laid out in. So now that we're 15 years past that last plan, it might not be a bad idea to have that done again to help us as we plan for the next 15 years.
Absolutely. It was brought forward last year to the committee to kind of look at as one of the projects, but it didn't move forward. I don't know the cost of what that would be, so I don't know if because their limit is 20,000, so I don't know if 40,000 would. That is something I actually don't know. I would have to look to see how much it would be to complete an active transportation plan. But we could consider that as a.
I think, I mean, I'm only one person, but I think that would be a great thing to do just because, I mean, we can't keep going on what the 2010 plan says. We're a decade and a half past it now, so.
The only comment I would make on that is that that particular plan, I think, was well done.
Yeah.
It did what it was asked to do, and we haven't finished it. Like there are 2 major projects that aren't done that are going to cost money, and I don't know whether I could support another study until we get the work done that has already been approved by council and the Trails Committee, and that would be my thought.
Absolutely.
Now, if we can't apply for money until we have a more up-to-date one, the argument is pretty sound that why would we do another study until we finish the work of the study that's been done and it's valid?
Yeah, again, the only thing that you could look at is the change in communities and like the different growth and the different opportunities and the different development that is occurring within the different settlement areas and looking at the future. We know what those projects are and they're on our radar. They take time because of so many other different things. So that's the only other caveat to look at it is, has our communities changed enough that it would warrant for a new active transportation plan, and looking at the different development that is coming in and with the change in official plan that will be approved this year, recreation master plan, which will be done this year. Like there's a lot of different things that are going to be done. So maybe even if it's not for this year, maybe the committee wants to look at it for the next couple years. That maybe within next year or the year after, or if there's anything that does come up that would provide a lot more funding towards it. But it's just an idea. There's a lot of things that we could apply for.
Mike?
I was just going to say, basically, you're balancing between something's 15 years, lots has changed in that 15 years. So without knowing what the 2 items that are remaining are, it's hard to judge compared to everything that's changed.
They're pretty.
They're
pretty obvious.
One of them is the connection within that to Bay Shore. That big connection is one of the biggest things that would then tie the loop around Simcoe County. And I think it is on our radar, and it's one thing that we want done, but there's just some. And
there's another one beyond that.
And then the Ramara Road, which
we were supposed to acquire the rail line there.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and that's fallen through, so in the near future. So that's why we're trying to get the trail out of the lake.
Out of the lake means not along the lake?
In the lake.
Well, actually,
That's the water portion of Trans Canada Trail, you have to get on a canoe physically.
Oh, you have to get a canoe and paddle up the lake and with your bike and then get off.
And that's the only part of the whole trail that's like that.
The entire Trans Canada
Across
Trail.
Canada, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But they have Uber bikes that
Well,
are.
you could swim.
Uber canoes.
Uber, sorry, yes.
Okay.
I had a question about this master recreation plan, like, I'm assuming we want members to go to the consultation that's coming up in February, and then could we ask that it tied to some active transportation pieces? Like, I'm just wondering if they're connected enough that we don't need a separate update of one plan.
You looked at a little bit of the active transportation. It wasn't focused on active transportation because it was a rec master plan. But there was a lot of comments for transportation in it, which are reflected within the report. So this last meeting's just to get some final comments from public to include within the report. So
I think it'd be well
Yeah.
worth the Trails
Yeah.
Committee going to it, as well as like looking to see what is it that they're saying about what residents would like to see in regards to trails. The active transportation will show like where trails can go, but the rec master plan is basically saying like, yes, people want trails, they want maybe benches, or they want some of the finesse or the amenities and the different things like that, but it's not gonna give us like a plan on where those trails should be laid out, how they should look, the accessibility component, and that's what that active transportation plan really looks at.
Okay, so
But
step one is to get into the master plan.
Yeah,
Right? We should make sure that we have input into that.
yeah, and there should be an email going out if it's not today or by tomorrow to all committees, just so that they're aware of what is happening and when that time is. Should include this on their agenda.
We met though, didn't we? Like we met with.
Yeah, you guys did.
Yeah.
Well, we did. but-
Yeah,
but
this is
then-
the final document to look at the key recommendations, so the committee can look at those key recommendations prior to it going to council.
So there's another draft.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's in February.
February 5th from 4 to 7 p.m. here at the Township Administration Building.
February 5th, okay.
Yeah.
And you're sending that.
Yeah, an email is going out. It's
Okay, 'cause I
there. It
wasn't
just
aware
has to
of
be
that.
sent out to all the committee
Good.
members.
Wondered when that was gonna happen,
Yeah.
because there was something about more public meetings, wasn't there some discussion about?
Yeah.
And did that happen?
That is what this open house is for,
Okay,
to ensure that there's,
good. So yes, then committee members, I think we should be at that meeting.
Mhm.
I think that's important, yeah. Anything else then? So Ashley, you're thinking of applying for the $50,000?
oh, I'm just looking at the direction of the committee.
We don't have the funds to match it.
But what
I guess it would be a total of
But, yeah.
60. If you combine both.
Yeah, but if you apply for 50, that would mean 100. If it's
We don't
matched,
have
right?
50 to put in
No,
our
but
portion.
I know, but what I'm suggesting is that maybe we can get, if we're working on the Ram Road Trail and we have a quarry that has volunteered.
We'd have to confirm
We
that.
have to confirm that,
So
so,
the other aspect is this deadline is next Tuesday.
yes,
So we'll have to confirm that. But essentially, all the money we have to put forward right now is $31,000 would be our share, and that would wipe out all construction funds for this year. So we did speak about, with those budget meetings, some gates and some resurfacing. So we'd have to figure out our projects, which way we're gonna focus this grant. So if we go more maintenance, I think we might be able to get both the gates and the resurfacing within that grant. But we don't be able to apply for the amounts that we have unless we get permissions that we can get in contact from.
So can we get that in time?
Oh yeah, I'll send the email out today, so as long as they reply back before that deadline.
So do you need a motion for us to say go for gates and resurfacing?
If that's the two projects we're gonna go forward for, yes, a motion essentially to apply for the grant.
The
Yeah,
tier 3 grant, the tier 3, which is up to 20,000 for those.
I think there's a
Sorry, I
lot
just wanna make
of,
sure.
there's a lot of community pressure. Now that this pit is opening up the Rammer Road for safety reasons to get cyclists off the road.
yeah, and I understand that, but we only have so much money we can work with.
Mhm. So, and we have a gravel pit operator that's prepared to build the trail. And we know we have to have a survey. And we're gonna deal with Simcoe County to see what we
Tier 2
can
done
do.
nothing.
So there's a lot of moving parts right now.
We're making AOD
So-
apply.
What I'm wondering is if we invite.
This,
If we applied actually for, like, we'll say the $50,000, that would give us $100,000 in money, which might go a long way if we can get the in-kind part approved. Then we might be able to deal with the safety issue.
so if we apply, we're applying for, and maybe this is what you have to word in your motion, if the in-kind is not supported, are we gonna apply for a different area? Or are we focused just on Rammer Road?
Well,
Because construction has to begin as well in 2025
Mhm.
as part of this grant, so that's,
okay. Committee, we need your thoughts. Dana?
I mean, I want to get started on that, but obviously we're at the mercy of the county in terms of coming up with what the roadmap for the right of way is, the survey and all that that's required, and I don't know what the, you know, how long that could technically take. Do you know,
I
Josh?
have no direction to move anywhere right now.
I have
So-
another meeting in February. The end of February. That I'm hoping for some answers.
so maybe this year could be looking at more of those gates and little projects, and then we were able to put any extra funds in reserves. So next year, when we're like, okay, we have all of the pre-work done, we know we're going forward, and we have some reserve money available. Maybe that's when we are apply for this part of the grant, because it does come out. Like, unless county decides differently, but it has been a regular grant each year for quite a few years.
Yeah, the only new requirement is the project has to be finished before you can reapply. So if we were to do the tier 3, a maximum grant of up to 20. Put our 20 towards it, so we'd have a total of 40 that would afford the gates and the maintenance of continuing Rammer Road on from Quarry Point. And in the meantime, we can determine what's going on with the rest of Rammer Road.
What do you think, committee?
Maybe that's the way to go, because I would hate to feel like we're rushing when we're not ready if we don't have those surveys and
Yeah.
everything ready for the.
And even if we were to proceed with surveys and that, like you're talking 2 to 3 months to complete
Yeah.
all the work, and then you got engineering on top of that and design.
Yeah, okay, I think that may be the smart way to go, as much as I'm keen to see that happen, but, yeah. Okay, and sorry, just to keep on this subject here, Josh, you were saying that you have no direction. What do you require from us to make that?
Well,
Ah,
Josh has said he needs directions from Simcoe County. I mean, we have to know whether they
If
will
it's
do
Simcoe
it.
County taking the project on and funding it, or if it's the township taking it on
I see,
and funding it. I know for me to move the project ahead, I'll need engineering, I'll need surveys, I need to know where the road is in relation to the property line and the ditches and where we can put a 10-foot trail and still accompany the road in the ditches as required by the county. So I know Rammer Road snakes back and forth within the road allowance, so the trail may go back and forth across the highway,
Yeah, we need.
which kind of goes against what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
If that were to happen, it'd be better to build a paved shoulder.
And most of Rammer Road already does have the wide shoulders, so,
Would be better to complete
yeah.
the paved shoulder, because crossing that road with gravel trucks is, it's like crossing Highway 12. Silly.
So I think the tier 3 is the best route to go right now. That would still leave us some money. If we determine to move forward, so that money can go towards some of the survey work if we are required to do it. So they could start us to pre-planning into the expansion.
And tier 3 is 20,000.
Maximum grant of 20, yeah.
That also gives us time, or Ashley time to
Gino
research,
Luciani.
to research the national, like the active transportation fund too, to see if that might
Yeah.
fit together.
Just one
Yeah.
second.
Within that too.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm on the Zoom.
And then can you shut your sound down?
So
Okay, then I need a motion, if we can agree, I need a motion for the $20,000 matching grant. Before we do that, I want to ask the question, so if we apply for 20 this year, that's the third tier, can we apply for the first tier next year?
Well, it'd be a whole new application, like a whole new year application.
Okay,
you can make any application within the year essentially until the project's completed. So
okay.
even if we were to do a tier 1 this year and complete that tier 1 project, next year you can apply for a tier 1. Yeah.
We just need more money, Josh.
Council, you gotta talk to me.
But
Dana,
I know.
But even if you get the 20, you have to be done this
You
year
have to
before
be-
you can
That's
apply
right.
next year. If you have anything left, then you're killed
You
next year's
can't apply
chance.
next
Yeah.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we do the tier 3, the gates won't take very long. The trail resurfacing won't take very long. They'd be completed before the end of 2025.
Mhm.
So
okay, a motion. Who's my motion person this time?
I like what Josh said. Does that count as a motion?
No, but you say it. I move that.
I move that we do what Josh said.
we apply for the tier 3.
$20,000 grant, matching grant from Simcoe County this year.
Apply for the $20,000 tier 3 matching grant.
And I guess, that's enough. And can you look into as part of the, with Simcoe County about?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. That's a
But
side.
that doesn't need to be part of the motion, does it, or does it? 'Cause that-
You could say that,
Yeah,
and
it should be
that staff apply for the tier 3 connecting communities grant for up to 20,000 for 3 gates, trail resurfacing and survey, and
Well, the survey would be part of that.
you don't want to put that through it? Okay. So Jason, for the 3 gates and resurfacing, and that staff asked the county in regards to donation / in-kind.
We haven't even explored whether they accept matching, like other grants, right, to go along with it for future.
Yes, they do.
They allow the staff. We've used it before.
As you see,
Yes.
you see the gates are, some of the gates are Trans-Canada Trail. So they could be a part of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trans-Canada Trail sometimes does not like stacking.
No.
But they have done it.
I know they have, but depending on the actual stream, we would always have to double check.
Okay, so Anna, do you have the motion? Can you read it back?
Yep, so I have that staff apply for the tier 3 option of this TCT grant for up to $20,000 for 3 gates, not grates, and trail resurfacing, and that staff asks the county in regard to donation/in-kind.
You just gotta change it from TCT to Simcoe County matching. Connecting communities.
And that actually investigate with
Yep.
Trans-Canada Trail
Okay,
to see if they will contribute a third of the cost.
through which fund though? That's what they're gonna ask me.
We're not making applications to TCT at this point. There's the maintenance fund
I
open.
thought,
This is just the Simcoe County Connecting Communities.
yes.
Go ahead, Annalyn.
Josh, would that include a culvert or whatever at the trailhead where the water is accumulating pretty well every time it rains for any length of time?
It wasn't, no.
Remember, I sent you a picture and you said it would be looked after?
Yeah, with grading, I don't think with the culvert.
Okay, well, you mentioned culvert. That's the only reason I said.
Yeah, I'll have to go back on it and look.
Okay,
Okay, so we just need a seconder for the motion.
Okay, Ashley's checking something, are you?
Why don't we just keep this clean with the connecting communities right now, because I'm not aware of a Trans-Canada Trail that would support gates.
Okay.
So why don't we just keep this, because this has to do with the connecting communities grant,
Okay.
this topic on this agenda.
Okay. The only reason I mentioned that, Ashley, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if we were able to use both Trans-Canada as part of the connected communities, it reduces the amount of money, makes our money go further.
Yes, in regards to, but right now we're just looking at gates and we're looking at trail resurfacing.
Yes.
So I have to see if there's a Trans-Canada Trail grant that relates to those.
And if there is, could you include that?
We can look into it.
Before next week.
Yeah, we can look into seeing if there's something.
Because there might even be grants that come up between now and spring that may fit within that, and then we can look at if there's chances that.
What I'm saying is that if we can combine the grants, our money goes.
But there is no grant right now. There is no grant through TCT that fits that.
Yeah, well, she's just checking.
Yeah.
If there is.
If there is, yeah.
So, okay, so we need a seconder for the motion. Steve, so all I can see, Steve, are your glasses. I'm not ignoring you, but Steve's the seconder. Any other comments or questions on that? Okay, well, let's move on. I just want to flip back then now to 4.6, planning for 25. I think we've pretty much done that. Is there anything else anybody has to say on it? Okay. Item number 5. Anything on the Atherley Trail, Annalyn?
no, Paul took out the 2 barriers that were in place and it's all set for the snowmobilers.
Okay. The Washago Trail, Steve?
Apologies, I can't see myself on the screen, so apologies if you're looking at my forehead or my nose or something. Anyways, no, nothing to report.
Okay. Bayshore Trail, Kathy?
Nothing to report, thanks.
Lagoon City Trail, nothing further. And the South Ramara Trail, nothing further. Dana, question?
Yeah.
Comment.
I don't know which trail this falls under, but the Orkney Fountain Conveyance, that area there, I know that we've spoken, or we've emailed back and forth about it, but would you be able, for the benefit of those residents in the area, maybe tuning in to, maybe give an update on what's happening with the gates and what?
Yeah, so the trail between Fountain and Orkney Beach, the township's acquired the property, like many people know. The plan is essentially for a trail to go through there, a pedestrian use trail. There was supposed to be gates installed 2025, but we did run into a few delays with the gates. We're actually picking them up tomorrow. They're now fully completed. If the weather permits and frost isn't too far in the ground, we're going to try to get the gates up over the next few weeks, weather depending anyways. If we cannot get the gates up, we did extend the fence out last week, but it has since been removed by a resident within that area. And there's also residents within that area that are clearing paths through there, which I think may be enticing the use for snowmobiles. I do not want to put a hard lock, concrete lock in place just for liability, especially since snowmobiles have been using it. I know the idea is to deter the snowmobiles, but it opens the township up to large liability if we were to put a block in place and it were to be struck. So we kindly ask, if the fence is in place, please leave it in place. It's at this point not for motorized vehicles. It's only for bicycles and pedestrian use.
So I didn't take the fence down, but is there a tree that needs to go down near the fountain side?
There is 2 trees there. We left the trees for the winter in hopes that it narrows it out to deter the use. But those trees are planned to be removed next year with the gates. The intent essentially is an emergency access for municipal vehicles, fire as well as municipal snow plowing to ease the possibility of the equipment backing up and causing an accident. So the large snow plows and small snow plows, we currently drive in and back out, which is a dangerous practice, but we have no other option. So the intent of the gates was to install them essentially in the same manner as we did up in Washago and other sections of the trail, put them to a spot that's wide enough to allow the equipment through, but close them to limit the access through the area. So yes, that's kind of what's going on there right now.
Thanks.
So anything else on trails?
Do you want the casino update?
Yeah, casino update.
Okay, so the casino trail, so late 2024, everything was awarded. The contractor came in, they did the work. The reason you may not see the trail is working with the casino. It was kind of a surprise to them. I thought there was consultation with the casino, but I found out afterward there wasn't a whole lot. So we couldn't go the full 3-meter width from where the trail currently ends around the parking lot to the parking lot, essentially in front of their treatment plant that's there. And the maximum width we could go without heavy construction, without removing sidewalks, electrical, lights, gardens, trees, we went with 1.5 meters. So it doesn't quite meet AODA standards, but it's the widest we could go without causing major construction within the casino parking lot. Once you get past that section, so the road that goes back to Willison Side Road, it goes to 3 meters at that point, and then it does tie into the old rail trail at the north side of the casino, and then all the way up to Airport Road. So I do have a meeting in the spring with the contractor to do a final walkthrough, and any deficiencies that are noted will be corrected at that point in time. And then also in the spring, when the snow melts, is when we'll be signing that trail. So we do have the signage ordered from Trans-Canada Trail. We're waiting it to come in, and then we'll get all that signage up, so.
And one of the gates that we're ordering, no, you don't need a gate now, do you, there?
There was no gates to go there. So the gates that were ordered last year, one is Side Road 15, one set goes there. One set was Orkney Fountain Beach, and the third set was South River Road up in the north end there.
Wonderful. I can't believe you got that done in December.
It was tight.
Yeah.
We got it done.
I didn't realize it was done until after New Year's.
Well, basically, I got the call one morning that he's ready to go. We awarded it, and I got the call he's ready to go, and it only took him 3.5, 4 days to do all the work. So he got through it quick. So.
Any new business? Ashley?
I have 6.2. It's photography and videography. So next Wednesday, we'll be finishing our winter. Last year we had our winter photography and videography, but then we had to delay it because we didn't have this beautiful snow that we had last year. Every time we went out, it was green. So it was almost a spring shoot.
Yeah.
So finishing off that on Wednesday. The afternoon is going to be at Firm Resort. So looking at ice skating and going on the cross country, the trail there, and like cross country skiing, snowshoeing, all that kind of fun stuff. But I'm hoping the Trails Committee or our members from the Trails Committee would like to do something on a Ramara trail, whether it is like walking on the trail. I know Kathy has a beautiful bike that can go on trails, because we need to have some photography or videography to show what we have here when it comes to trails and winter. We have it for spring, summer, fall, but winter time. So I'm inviting members of the Trails Committee in the morning if there's something that they would like to do, or they have a fat bike, or this Wednesday, next Wednesday, week today, 22nd. Snowmobiling, if you know someone who likes to snowmobile near a snowmobile trail, I'd love to get that as well. So I'm kind of poking all of you to see if there is something.
My son could wear his survival suit he wears for ice fishing on Lake Couchiching for part of the waterfront water trail. That's not part of the
On his canoe.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah.
With a bike.
Strap to it.
Yeah, we might have someone already for ice fishing and just
Okay.
getting that squared away, seeing if there's an opportunity within that Firm Resort area. But I thought trails would be a great opportunity, because that's something we didn't get to really capture last time. So if there is something in the morning, if you can reach out to me by tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 by email, that would be great. And just say, hey, I'm available from 10 to 11, or just give me some time. So it's basically the morning that I'm trying to just capture some things within that trail area, because I have that afternoon fully booked for some other.
On the 22nd.
On the 22nd.
I used to snowmobile lots, but I don't anymore, but I
No,
do know somebody that does.
we do have a member on here that likes to snowmobile, so maybe we can reach out to them and they would like to be a part of
Oh,
it.
in the township of the staff, you mean?
No, I'm meeting on our trails committee.
Oh, David.
You don't even have to show your face, just even if you drive off for me. Getting on, driving off, check, done. It does take longer than that. Our photographer does like a lot of
Yeah,
things
I
to.
forgot about that member, yeah.
Yes, so if you wanna, that member as well, that'd be absolutely amazing. If there's anything you can do, that'd be great. Just so that way you can capture everything that we have here in Ramara. So last time we were able to do tapping into maple trees. We looked at hiking and snowshoeing, and like sitting about around a fire at
So the tip of my tongue, and I can see them. Anyways, the trail here in Ramara. So yeah, if you have anything that Wednesday, whether you wanna cross-country ski, 'cause we could do that on our trails, walking on our trails, fat biking on our trails.
Where'd Kathy go?
I know, where's Kathy? That's who I was hoping, but I know that she gets busy with work, but if there is something, or no,
We
if
had
there's
to
something,
leave at 11:30.
I'll email her.
My son has snowshoes.
Yeah, like anything on our trails. So if there's a time where you have opening and you would like to be a part of it, I do have a release for the models that are participating.
And you're going to be moving around then, obviously, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see. I'm not walking very far these days.
No worries, but if you know someone, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to participate, but I know someone, like our great member Kathy has a fat bike, that can do one of those shoes, just let me know and just send me an email. So I can get the rest of that agenda created and out to our photographer and videographer. And that is it for me.
Okay, motion for adjournment. Dana, seconder. Annalyn, thank you. And in regard to your comment about winter, isn't it refreshing to have winter? It's like instead of rain and
Yeah,
salt
if we're
and-
gonna have winter, let's have winter.
yeah.
I only want it for 2 months though, but let's have it.
Yeah.
Second.
Like it goes after January
Yeah.
31st, right?
No, I don't-
Okay, everybody, have a great day.